What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Cody Campbell with High Ground Gaming. Today we are unboxing and reviewing the Royal Kludge RK84 80% mechanical gaming keyboard. I'm going to start by walking you through the specs. After that, I'll open it up, let you take a look at it. From there, we'll go to the review portion where I'll talk about my thoughts on the product, and from there, we'll go to High Ground Gaming's final score. Stick around. I know some of you probably thought you misheard me, but this is in fact an 80% mechanical gaming keyboard. It has some arrow keys. It has a lot of the stuff that you'd find on a TKL keyboard just sort of shoved onto the side so it doesn't take up quite so much space, which I think is actually a really unique and interesting design. It comes in either black or white and has three kinds of connectivity. It either connects via a removable USB Type-C cable, it has 2.4 gigahertz connection, which should be the fastest wireless connection, or it has three different Bluetooth 5.0 profiles, which you can use either if you don't like the 2.4G for some reason, maybe you've got a lot of interference on that channel, or if you want to connect to something like an iPad or a phone that doesn't have a USB port. It comes with ABS double shot keycaps, which is always nice since those won't show wear and get shiny quite as quickly. And it has three different mechanical switch options that come in linear reds, clicky blues, or tactile browns. No brand was listed for the switches, so I'm gonna have to pop a couple keycaps off and take a look underneath. Maybe they're Royal Kludge brand, maybe there's something else that just wasn't listed. We'll find out. It has a 3,750 milliamp per hour battery, which is a pretty decent size. That should last a while. It has two USB pass-throughs, it has RGB, and it has Royal Kludge's own software. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the unboxing. Okay, so shipping label was covering it up before, so I couldn't really see what color they sent us, but it seems we've got the white one. All right, let's set that aside real quick, see what else is in the box. So we've got a keycap and switch remover duo. We've got some backup switches. Let's see what they look like. Yep, they've got a little RK on there, so they're Royal Kludge's own brand. Looks like they sent us, these are browns. Looks like there's some extra little wedges for the bottom. And then we've got the cable. And it is rubber, it's not braided. It's not a bad rubber though, it feels nice. Doesn't feel cheap. Around about 6 feet, which is standard. Not super long, but long enough for most people. All right, let's see it. User manual in there. Interesting. Okay, so you can see that a lot of the stuff that is on a TKL is over here on the side. We've got the delete, home, and page up, page down, and then we've got our arrow keys. So it seems that they've sent us the browns, which is nice. I like browns personally. I know some people don't. Let's take one off and find out. Yep, browns. Got browns under there. What's interesting is there's a sort of curvature to the top here. See how the F keys are actually lower than the number keys here. I've never actually seen that design before. Feels good to type on though. I'm actually kind of surprised how good it feels. We reviewed the Royal Kludge SK61, I believe. It was the 60% version, and we weren't overly impressed with that one, but this, it's got some good weight to it. It feels nice. Some extra USB pass-throughs on the back there. The USB Type-C port, it's on the right-hand side, the back right. On the bottom, we've got BG. Oh, Bluetooth or 2.4G probably. So you can switch between the wireless modes with this little switch here, and got a little on-off switch there. I love when they put a little inlay for the 2.4G dongle. That's always nice. That's magnetic. Good touch, good touch. This is good because it makes it easy so that you don't lose it. Yep, okay. So there are extra feet, but they're magnetic and completely detachable, which is an odd choice. I'm not really sure why they do that. Seems like it would just make these components easy to lose. They're on there pretty snug, but I probably wouldn't travel with it or have it in my lap. I'd be worried about losing it and having it slide between the couch cushions. All right, here's a little sound test. Shift key on the right is super tiny. I know that's part of the form factor. They had to do that to fit the arrow keys in here, but that is something that you'll have to be aware of. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, plug it in, play some games on it, test it out for a little while, and we'll be right back with the review portion. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back everybody. I've spent the last couple weeks playing around with the RK84 and I've got some stuff to say about it. But a couple quick things before we get into that. First of all, I just want to let you know that for whatever reason, all the footage that I tried to get of this, all the B-roll and everything like that, the RGB looks really flickery. It does not look that way in real life. It's very smooth to the naked eye and it genuinely looks pretty good. I don't know why it looks like that, but I just wanted to warn you ahead of time, and also, I guess give like a seizure warning, because if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, maybe this isn't the video that you should watch. Second thing, please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. But with all that out of the way, let's dive in and actually talk about the keyboard. First of all, I want to start by talking about the design and the build quality. I'm actually pretty impressed with this thing. So it does have this plastic housing. It's not metallic or sort of high-end in that way, but it is fairly heavy, so it feels quality, and there's really no flex to it whatsoever either. The keycaps are great. They have this really nice texture to them, and you know, because they're double shot, that they're not going to wear or shine quite as easily, so that's good. They're also not super wiggly. They feel sturdy, they feel comfortable, and just generally nice. The only kind of downside I mentioned before is that the shift key is very small. Now, that was a little irritating when I first started using this keyboard, because usually the shift key takes up this whole amount of space, so a lot of times my pinky would end up hitting the up key when I mean to hit the shift key, but I got used to that in a couple days. It was irritating a couple of first days, but I did get used to it, and after that, I honestly forgot about it, and it completely ceased to be an issue. I did find the back legs to be pretty stable. While they're sitting on a desk, they don't wiggle or move. They're not gonna pop off or anything like that. My only concern is if you're using this as a travel keyboard and you like to have these legs on, then like shoving it in a backpack or something like that, they're gonna pop off. And there's a good chance of you losing one or both of them, and then you will have no way to incline the keyboard. I really do wish that they had just put adjustable legs on it like most keyboards do. I'm not really sure why they decided to go this route. It's not my favorite, but if it's just a desk keyboard, it is pretty functional, and they're not gonna go anywhere. Next, let's talk about the RK brand switches. Overall, I was actually pretty impressed with these. Now, they're not the best switches in the world. They don't compare to brands like Cherry MX or Kale or anything like that, but they're pretty good. I actually really enjoyed typing on them. I found that they all had a pretty good tension to them. There weren't any bad switches on the board they sent us or anything like that, and the tactile bump in the browns that they sent us was really nice and satisfying to type on, so no issues whatsoever there. They're also actually hot swappable, so if you get it and you end up deciding you like the keyboard but don't like the switches, you can actually always switch them out, so that's a pretty nice feature as well. At the end of the day though, it is a gaming keyboard and nothing else really matters if it can't perform well in game. So I tested out playing some Doom Eternal. I test with that game because of the fast reaction speeds and everything that's required in that. It's really good at sort of rooting out latency in different modes. I started with the USB Type-C wired connection because just sort of setting a baseline for how well it's supposed to work. And of course, wired connection is always going to be the fastest, and it worked great. I also just generally felt that the keyboard was comfortable to play on and the keys were well spaced, and I just didn't really have any issues playing on it. It was a very comfortable experience. Then I switched to the 2.4G connection, and that's where I kind of ran into a hiccup. The 2.4G should be the fastest wired connection, and it is the fastest, but I sort of had an issue where I was getting sort of a spotty connection with it. Now, my PC's outlet is about 3.5 feet away from where my keyboard was. And at that range, I was getting a very spotty connection. It was, you know, sort of stuttery and just not working super well. So I plugged it into a hub, which I moved closer, and at about 2 feet, the stuttering stopped altogether. And then I had a very, very good gaming experience, like not even noticeably different from the USB Type-C connection. But the range was so short that I found that kind of frustrating. I feel like 3.5 feet is not much to ask for a keyboard's wireless connection. So that was irritating. If you have a hub on your desk that's close to where you keep your keyboard and you can plug it in there, then that might be a great option for you. If you don't and you don't want to set one up, then you're probably going to have to either use it wired or use it with Bluetooth. Now, the Bluetooth worked as well as Bluetooth ever does. This has Bluetooth 5.0, which is currently the fastest form of Bluetooth, which is nice. But Bluetooth is always going to have a very small amount of latency. It's not going to compare to the wired or the 2.4. And if you're really looking for it, you will find that latency. It isn't that big of a deal. I think that for most gamers, playing on Bluetooth is perfectly fine, but for that 5% of competitive gamers that really need every millisecond of non-latency that they can have, that this Bluetooth is just not going to be acceptable. So keep that in mind. You're probably going to want to play it wired if you're playing competitively. Next, let's talk about the RK software and the RGB. This was not the most impressive thing about this keyboard. The RK software looks and feels old to utilize. It has 3 profiles, it has key mapping, it has macro controls, it has 21 lighting effects, which is a fair amount, and they each have brightness, speed, sleep, time, and some animation controls. None of them are that impressive, really, and there's no real color control to them, but they are there, and some of them look pretty decent. Some of them look kind of clunky. Really, out of the 21, there's probably 4 or 5 that people are really going to want to use, and the rest of them are just sort of there. They do also have a custom lighting studio, though, which is pretty cool. You can use the custom lighting studio to set 3 separate individual effects. You can set one to the board as a whole, and then after you've set that, you can set one to specifically go on the WASD keys, and then one to go on the number keys. That way you have 3 different effects to really distinguish them on your keyboard, and I think that's pretty neat. Overall, the software just sort of feels old and limited for a 2022 market, but it is a budget brand, so that is sort of to be expected. The RGB does look bright and colorful to the naked eye, but if you're doing any sort of filming, if you're on Twitch or anything like that and you've got a keyboard cam, then it's pretty bad. That flicker is, I would think, unacceptable. So if you're doing anything where you're filming the keyboard, I would steer clear of this one. That about covers the review portion, though. Let's get down to the verdict. So the Royal Kludge RK84 MSRPs at $79.99. That is significantly more expensive than any of Royal Kludge's other products. They sell a 60% keyboard and a TKL keyboard, which are both like right around $50. So this is $30 more than those, even though it's sort of right in between them in terms of size. But to be fair, I think a lot of that comes down to the uniqueness of the form factor. This is the only 80% keyboard like this on the market. So they do get to sort of charge a premium for that. And given the size of the battery in this and the features that it comes with and the generally good build quality, I think it's fair. I think that that price is warranted. So with all that in mind, we actually gave this a straight 4 out of 5. It's a unique product that's generally well built. It does lose some points for the 2.4G connection having such a short range, but other than that, I think it's a solid buy if you're looking for something cool and different at a lower price point. Why don't you go ahead and drop down into the comments and let us know what you think. Would you be interested in seeing more high-end versions of this form factor, or do you think that this is just sort of a gimmick that's gonna die out on its own? While you're at it, once again, please hit that like and subscribe button. We've got lots of new content coming at you real soon, and we'd hate for you to miss any of it. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have happy gaming.